But January and March of 2025, there is an appearance of a, shall we say, grace window, a possibility for humans to rise and elevate, but as a reaction to what they will experience in the second half of 2024. The speed at which things are breaking down, healing, changing, elevating, going sideways is quite intense for people. Will you allow your soul to rise in ways that you previously have not? Will you allow yourself to express what you feel, who you are, what you believe, what you disagree with?
I'd like to welcome back to the show, returning champion, Lee Harris. How you doing, Lee?
Hi, Alex. It's amazing to be here. What a gorgeous, gorgeous space you've made. And it's so nice to meet you in person, finally, and to get to give you a hug.
Yes, my friend. It's been such a pleasure meeting you in person. And I think the conversation is going to be interesting, having the Z's in the space. I've done a handful of these now in studio, and the energy is so different than it is in Zoom. Zoom's great.
Yeah.
And it does its job, but this is a whole other feeling, and I think the audience feels it as well. So I'm so honored and pleasure, and it's such a pleasure having you here, my friend.
Same,
So
thank you.
So I wanted to ask you, because you do a lot of energy updates on your channel. What is the energy update right now for the world as we see it, like the world's energy? So energy updates are essentially where we are on the planet and the consciousness?
Yeah, so I get given 8 themes each month. It's now 8. I mean, it's changed over the years, but recently it's been 8 themes that I receive from my guides that I then, as an energy intuitive, talk about, interpret, and hopefully give people some either clarity of what they're going through or ways to deal with it. And I'm curious, is this airing quite close to when we're recording?
No, probably at least a month away.
Okay, perfect. So firstly, the one thing I'll address then is the speed. So the speed of everything, which again, the speed has been increasing steadily for years, but the speed at which things are breaking down, healing, changing, elevating, going sideways is quite intense for people. So we as a people in this generation haven't experienced anything like this before. And we're all feeling it, and it's hitting them in different ways. You might be having the most elevated breakthrough of your life right now, and it feels amazing. You might be being walloped into the tightest corner that you've ever felt in your life because your breakthrough is coming, but right now you're feeling trapped and like everything is going wrong. So depending on where you're at, there is this energy vortex that's doing this to all of us, and we're spiraling, and we're spiraling up. But first, the spiral starts spinning in your energy field, and it goes, in order to go up, we can no longer have this shame that you're carrying, that you've been carrying for 10, 20 years. So we're going to bring an experience into your life where you are going to really feel shame. And it's all going to depend on how you react to it as to whether or not you elevate out of it quickly or whether or not you have to hang out in that energy for a while. So an example of that would be, let's say it's me and you, and I've got some shame around my appearance. Sure. And you come up to me and you go, oof, you're looking a bit roughly. I don't know what, and for weeks, I'm like, oh my God, Alex Ferrari said I'm looking rough. And I can't let go of it because I go back into the mental obsession and the emotional template that I'm carrying.
The trauma from your childhood and all that stuff.
Yeah, all of it. Or I get to a point where I go, well, that was weird. Oh, okay. He thinks I look rough. I don't. I'm okay. And I let it go. And in that moment, you're tested on the shame energy, and you get through it very quickly, or you let go of it quickly. And then after that becomes your empowerment, which is you no longer have this shame around your appearance, so you can actually not care about your appearance and just let this body be the vehicle it's supposed to be and let you go out into the world and express and emanate and connect and relate and give and receive. But while you've got that shame template, you're going to block yourself from something, whether it's thinking you're good enough to walk into a room, whether it's finding a partner or friends. So there is a speed at which all of us are having these elements, these lower elements shaken out of us. And it's intense, even for the people who may have done this for, 40, 50, 60 years. You might be in your 70s or 80s and you've been spiritual and conscious your whole life. But aside from the evolutionary process of aging, which is its own thing, you're also going, oh my God, what the hell is going on? I don't know who I am. I don't know where I am. I'm disoriented. The world is disorienting. So if you look at the way the world is shaking right now, all the things that we knew as certain, normal, reliable, are shaking. And so, yes, you can spend your time watching the television of the world out there, which is, looking at world events and talking to people about things happening, 5 miles from you or 5,000 miles from you. And that's one thing. And there are people who do that for good reason. That might be their path. They might be activists for those areas of the world. But you also have to go, at what point am I just watching the TV of the world and thinking I'm divorced from this, and not realizing that if that's happening out there, so too is that moving through my body. And so the people who are aware of the process they're in, it can be enlightening, it can be frightening, it can be faster than you've ever experienced. It's why many people are having to find new tools. They're like, oh my God, yoga worked for me for 10 years and now I just can't, yoga isn't doing it. And it's okay, it's not bad. It's not that yoga isn't good, it's just that you're changing at such a rate that relationships and things that you do, the path of the work that you do in the world, the way you feel, and just on a very intrinsic level, your senses are changing. So people are having heart openings they've never had before. So sometimes those things happen to us just because we're energetically in tune, and other times we, our soul, will create events, relationships, and things around us to trigger those events. But at a certain point, you don't need the external triggers as much anymore, or you are not as triggered by external events. So you telling me, oh, Lee, you look a bit rough. 10 years ago, I'd have been, oh my God, and I'd be telling them, can you believe Alex said that? I go, I'm horrified, and they're, oh, that's terrible. And we get into the drama of it all, and it just perpetuates.
Oh, yeah.
You telling me that now, with this energy body, I go, oh, that's an interesting opinion Alex has got. I wonder what that means for him. I don't take it on.
It's exactly. It's
and
more
that's
about
kind of
me.
the stages of evolution that we go through. So there's a lot of people right now who are having highly energetic experiences, even in a world that's so up and down when it comes to dark, light,
Yeah, and is that probably one of the reasons why people are searching for answers? Because the mainstream media is not giving it to them. Mainstream anything is not giving it to them. So they're looking for alternative media, they're looking for alternative books, they're looking for information, because this thing that's happening to all of us, people feel it. And they're now curious, like, wait a minute, what is, what, and we've had this conversation before about channeling. It's a lot more accepted. It's still on the outskirts. No, it's not mainstream. It's not on the Tonight Show. You haven't been on the Tonight Show yet.
I am not telling every Uber driver that I'm a channeler.
Hey man, so do you want to?
Although some of them are great, and we've had conversations. I've had some.
Would you like a reading while we're on our way to the airport? No, no. But that is a lot more open. The people are more open to that idea now than they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it seems that people are just getting more. Like anytime I bring up, because I don't channel like you do, but I have a show like this that talks to people like you and everybody else that I bring on the show. So people, when they hear about what I do, they'll ask me, they're like, so is this channel thing, is it real? But they're curious. And before it'd be like, that's the devil.
Well, religious programming.
Correct.
I even, not that long ago, there was someone I was very close to, and their sister was supposed to come and visit, and found out I was a channeler and said, I can't sleep in the same house as that because of her religious beliefs, which to me is kind of extraordinary. But,
right.
But I was like, oh, wow, okay. Because to me, I come from a self-growth background. I come from a personal development background. So to me, any rigidly held belief that has fear around it needs to be investigated. But I understand that for a lot of people who have been living by those rules, that if they remove one of those rules, the whole house of cards is going to fall down. That's their belief. So they have to hold on to every single thing they have trained themselves to believe or been trained to believe. So, I mean, it's very personal. I don't want to say that there is a one-size-fits-all in any religion, because I have Christian friends who are super open, super loving, and super spiritual. And then I have other Christian friends who are like, this is what my pastor says, and my jaw drops open when I hear what they're believing about other human beings.
But I think that rigidness is starting to go away.
Definitely.
You know, and one of my other questions I was going to ask you is the place of religion in this new world, because those systems did serve us for a long, long time. You know, I always joke I'm a recovering Catholic,
Right.
you know, I beat up the Catholic Church in a wonderful, loving way because I was there, so I could pinpoint things that were good about it, things that were not so good about it. I always tell people that if it wasn't for my Catholic upbringing, I wouldn't be on this path, because it was an introduction to a higher power. It was an introduction to certain teachings. I might not agree with the dogma, but the good stuff, it just allowed you to open up your mind. And that's the thing that I think that it did have a place in its time. I always say to people, I'm like, look, if it wasn't for the Catholic Church or Islam or certain big religions, the big ones, we would have been killing each other even worse than we were, raping, pillaging. They needed to control the population because they were such low vibration that they had to put literally the fear of ever damning damnation of a hell and all this kind of stuff. Where now we're at a certain level in our evolution that doesn't resonate anymore. Like this kind of like, so there's a hell? So you mean to tell me if I eat meat on Friday, I'm at the same level as the guy who killed somebody, and we both go to the same place? Because that's what the book says, or that's what the doctrine says. That doesn't ring true anymore for people, at least not as much as it used to. So where do you think that organized religion, what place was it going to have in the next 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? Because we all see the decline in organized religion, and definitely in the Catholic Church has had a little hiccups over the last 30 years or so with what's going on there. But all organized religion seems to be on the downward, and spirituality and finding your own path seems to be on the upward swing. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, wouldn't it be interesting for us to be able to flash forward 300 years when people are going, oh, spirituality and channeling is so outdated now. It will be. It will be. And that's the point. It's like we as society evolve through all of these systems. So, I also know many people who I think during COVID, and some of them are public figures, who very interestingly have rejected spirituality and gone into Christianity or some other organized religion, and I personally think a religion that puts you into your faith, your love, your heart for others is a fantastic thing.
Absolutely.
I just have a great problem when religion is either used as a tactic to justify war on a global scale or on a personal scale. And there are too many people who justify the emotional violence they are enacting on other people through their religious beliefs.
Stop it. No, really? Throughout history?
So it's a very interesting thing when people use their religion to hide behind.
Of course. Oh, yeah, because, it's the book that said it, or my priest said it, or my pastor said it to do it. Yeah, all that stuff.
I actually have a very good friend who I see fairly regularly. And we just had a very interesting conversation that took me by surprise, because she's very into getting underneath the skin of what's going on governmentally and around the world.
Sure.
And is always talking to me about, well, did you see this happened? And this is not to be trusted and blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
But then equally, out came I was quite surprised to hear some slightly homophobic beliefs that she has because of Christianity. Mm-hmm. And I said...
She knew she was talking to you, right?
She knew she was talking to me, and she knows exactly who I am.
Right.
And what she explained was, no, it's not that it's wrong or that you're less than, but if you do that, you are... And I was kind of gobsmacked, but I didn't care really,
sure.
because I love her. I love her. It doesn't change my love for her. I know. But I was like, wow.
To your face, like right there.
Oh, completely. and I understand. I know what she's gone through in her life. She went through a really tough time. And so my sense is, and she wasn't well parented and in and out of foster homes. And so I think religion, when she, how do I put it? When she got out of her own personal rock bottom in her early 20s, I think religion became the place that got her on the straight and narrow. And now she's holding rigidly to it. But I thought, how interesting that you won't investigate this belief you have while you are telling all these other people in your life that they are idiots for just believing the media narrative that you yourself don't trust, don't believe. And I just found that interesting.
That's a really interesting point
I was
of
like,
view.
oh, that's a really interesting combination in your personality. But the reason she won't let go of these religious beliefs is because they are in some way holding her in place.
Absolutely.
But I just found that very, very interesting.
Yeah, and I always find it interesting when people, because I mean, I read the comments on the show and think, I try not to read all of them. But
I don't anymore.
I
Good
know
for
you don't. I still read them every once in a while.
I stopped a while ago.
I do research, I like to see it.
I always look when I'm running an online course or in my portal members community. Yeah. I'm always looking at those comments because I want to make sure as a teacher,
I'm doing good
what
job.
I'm doing is right, and you pay attention, you learn how to tweak things and what people want and need, and that's important, but not the bigger stuff.
So when I look at the comments, I'm fascinated with where these belief systems are, that they cannot hold space for anything outside of their belief system or what the programming that they've been given over the years. I was born into a Catholic family. I'm a Latino born into a Catholic family. So it was just what it was. Only as I got older did I realize, well, wait a minute, what's Buddhism? Well, what's Confucianism? What is Zoroastrianism? What is all these other ideas? What are these philosophies I'm hearing about? And I just started to be exposed to it, and I'm a very naturally curious person, so I didn't need that for my journey to hold on to that at all. Like even when I was a young first grader, I was like, this doesn't seem right. Even as a young man, I was like, nah, it does. There's something off here. But I didn't need that. But I hold space for all. As we obviously on the show, I hold space for everybody's belief systems and everybody's ideas of how the universe works. The funny thing is that doing the show for someone, now we've done 470 episodes or so on this show. Very, very few times, I can count on one hand how many times there's been a guest that contradicts the truth of everything that you've said, everything that other channelers say, everything that psychic mediums say, quantum physicists say, religious gurus say. The truth is the truth is the truth. And I've found it so fascinating that all these overlapping belief systems and ideas, the truth really does come up. And it doesn't very contradict. It's like, if the sky is blue, it's blue. I haven't had anyone come on and say, oh, but the sky is also red. It's fascinating out of everything, listening to all these people. But going back to holding space, why does what you and I are talking about right now, how does that threaten somebody watching right now who has opposite beliefs? Because I'm sure there's things in your life that I don't agree with in my life, and vice versa. Whatever those are. I'm a vegetarian. You might eat meat. Who knows? It's okay. You eating meat does not at any way impact me, and why I eat eat a vegetable has nothing to do with the way it affects your life. So I'm open to everyone's ideas. And when people come to Austin, they go, where's a good place? Oh, you got to go to some barbecue. And I'll take them straight to, like, I have no problem with that. But why is it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, why do you think people cannot hold space in their rigid ideologies or rigid stories that they tell themselves because of someone else's beliefs, when the other person's belief is obviously not impacting them directly?
That's a great question, and it actually is impacting them directly on a vibrational and an emotional level.
I know.
And when they start to emotionally vibrate in a way that makes them uncomfortable, they will fight, they will be emotionally violent to the other person with words. Sometimes they'll even be physically violent. And to me, it's interesting. I remember this a while ago. There was someone I was working with. I did private readings for 15 years. And I had a lot of clients who would come back, or they would do a series of sessions and mentoring programs. And there was a woman who was a healer and a facilitator, and she held space for others, but she was new. And she was really frustrated that her client wasn't progressing more the way she wanted to. And so I was just trying to help her undo that and just reminding her that the job is not about trying to drag someone from A to F. If really all you're supposed to do for them is get them to A to B, you always let them be in control of the volume, and you pay close attention to when they start vibrating in a way they can't hold. And so she wasn't hearing it very well from me, even though I took her through 6 different reasons and 6 different areas of points. Sometimes I found when I was doing my readings, people would be a lot more willing to believe the Z's than, not always, but so funny, the Z's get on with her for the second half of the session. And they explained it really well. They said that woman does not have the emotional support in her life to open to the level you want her to right now. Right. Because all the people that she's living with, all the people she's surrounded by, they are at a certain vibration. And she does not want to disrupt her whole life so dramatically by going to another place. And I don't know about you, I think of myself and I think of the stages of growth I've gone through. And some areas have been really slow for me. Some of my wounds have taken a long time and some of them I've shot through. But there is a timing for things. And so the people who lash out when their beliefs are challenged, because there's no need to, you can just go, oh, different belief, unless you are actually on some level scared that your belief is wrong, but you don't want to look at it because your body starts to emotionally respond to you telling me that the sky is blue. And I'm like, no, it's not. The sky is red, Alex. And I want to come back at you, which is not going to do me any good. But what I'm doing is I'm going, oh, I'm feeling all this emotional energy. I'm just going to throw it at you. And that's emotional violence. It's an incapacity to hold yourself emotionally. It's an incapacity to process. It's an incapacity to go, oh, what am I feeling? I should go, I'm going to investigate why Alex triggered me when he said the sky is blue, rather than annihilate Alex so he can never say it again. And what we're actually seeing is, and we know this, there is a definite encouragement of that annihilation at the levels of the systems of society that we're seeing play out, and we're seeing people fall headlong into it. And usually they're falling into it because they haven't yet got to a place where they are emotionally and sensorially and aware enough in themselves to recognize what's happening. It's the same people at the concert that I told you. They weren't going, oh, there's no soul here. But they started to get bored, but they maybe didn't know why. And so that's the thing. When your senses are alive, you start to go, oh, this doesn't feel good to me. And I don't need to make the people in the room wrong. It just means I'm not a vibrational match for this, so I should leave. Versus, I'm going to shout at all these people to make them see it my way. It's actually a horrifying place to live, if you think about it, for that person, but they don't even know. All they know is they want to hold on to this, and they're going to make you the enemy if you try and take it away from them, because the way their body starts to vibrate, they cannot handle it. So they go to what I call emotional violence, or worse, physical violence. Do you ever watch the show America's Got Talent? Have you heard of it? My family all watch all those shows. I've seen like an episode or two. Well, the brilliance about that show, and I watch episodes here and there, especially stuff on YouTube when I see the highlights, is they bring people up who have a dream of singing or something like that. And, you know, Suzanne Boyle was that really famous one from England. Huge. Yeah, she came out, she did not look like the part. I mean, that was, and she was that was a moment. That was the first time that ever happened. And the explosion, there was one the other night that my mom sent me a link. She said, you have to watch this. And it was this guy, he was a janitor at a school for 23 years. And you look at the man, he's in his like 55, he lives in Indiana. You know, he has a fiance now, but he sung quietly. And he comes on the stage and he just decides to, he's like, I'm here to sing. And he's like, and they go, so what song are you going to sing? And he goes, you'll know. You'll understand when the song comes on. Everyone's like, okay. And everyone's like, oh, I hope this guy's good. Because he was so humble. So just like this little quiet, you know, he was a big man, but just a little quiet thing. And he bust out the first note of Don't Stop Believing. And I'm like getting chills right now, listen. And it's just, the entire room changed. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm telling this story for a reason. The authenticity of who he is, the soul, is what everyone can, and that's so beautiful about that show, is you get these people who come on and they just blow you away. And they might not even be perfect singers, but man, there's so much soul behind it that people they just gravitate towards it. And then you bring in another guy or gal who comes on and they look the part. They've been doing it, they've been maybe singing for 15 years, maybe at bars or, you know, gigs here, side gigs. And they're doing what you were saying the other day. They're like, this is what I should sing. This is how I should sing it. And it just falls flat, absolutely flat. And I just was, when you were talking, I was like, oh my God, I really never thought about it. But those are the moments, and that's what people are searching for, that authenticity. And
that changed the subject from what we were talking about before a little bit, but it kind of is the same thing because it's the energy, you feel it. Singing is not going to affect your belief system, generally speaking. But someone saying something with that kind of energy, of that truth. You and I can speak from truth, our truth. It doesn't have to be your truth, our truth.
Yes.
That is as similar as a Suzanne Boyle coming out and singing from her heart. That truth is an energy, and that's what people get affected by, is that energy of our strength, our belief system in what we're saying. And if someone else has that same vibe in the programming that they were raised with, and it truly means something to them, they might have the same energy, but it won't affect you, or maybe because that doesn't ring true for us. The vibration doesn't. The frequency doesn't mix. Does that make sense?
Completely. Yeah, and music is such a universal healing force. No matter what language you're singing in, music is a magical thing that moves through our bodies. And it's not to say that the other talent shows aren't great. Like, I know there are dance talent shows, and it's amazing to see what we as humans can do, and to see someone go through a transformational moment like that. It's brilliant. I like how that has moved us away from what used to be the system of, here are the few stars that you get to look at, that we have decided on, we're the gatekeepers for them, and these are the 12 you can see. And now it's like, no, everyone, and millions and millions and millions can, and we will choose. But I love what you said, because it is that feeling. Again, this concert I saw was technically A+, but the feeling wasn't there, and so gradually people start to disconnect, because we want to feel and we want to connect. Now, sure, there are some very technically wired people who care more about technicality.
Of course.
But even they want to feel something about their love and appreciation of the technicality. So feeling is the key.
And I think a lot of, the shows like this kind of show, people feel the energy that we have when we have a conversation.
Yeah.
I've seen it a lot, and people are drawn to it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. You're not everybody's cup of tea.
No, none of us are. There is nobody on the planet. There is nobody on the planet who is going to be universally accepted, and nor should there be, because we are a diverse, multidimensional group, which is why it's always so interesting to me that there are people who want to sit there at home and write comments about like things they don't like. I'm like, God, imagine what you could be doing with your energy. And of course, we also know some of them are paid to do that.
Sure.
But most of them aren't. They're just they're in a feedback loop with themselves around judgment, which is not a fun place to be.
Right.
But still, it is interesting to see all that playing out. And I actually think it's good we're seeing it, because it's this technology, this very early technology that we're all in, we're babies in it. We're seeing the positive and we're seeing the shadow, and it's revealing who we have the potential to be, for good and for worse. And from that, it's going to be interesting to see how it course corrects or shifts and shapes over the next couple of decades.
But obviously Taylor Swift. Everyone loves Taylor Swift.
Who?
Taylor Swift.
Who?
I've never heard of her.
No. Do you know what's funny?
I'm joking.
So I don't read comments, but someone on my team said to me, "Oh, you did an interview with Alex for our I think it was with you."
Yeah.
And I said a story. Did I tell you I took Devore to see the Taylor Swift?
No. No, you never told me.
Maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was someone else. But I took Devore to see the Taylor Swift. Actually, this is a good. I'm going to tell this story.
Sure.
I took Devore to see the Taylor Swift concert because Devore is my music brother, and I thought, let's go and see in a cinema
Oh, you saw it in the cinema. You didn't go live.
No, we went to the cinema, but I thought this is kind of a global phenomenon.
It is.
Whether you like her or not, she's an extraordinary talent, and she's doing a fascinating thing around claiming her power, kind of financially, and also her authorship. I was fascinated by everything that happened around her. So I hats off to her, but there were a load of comments going, oh, the minute he talked about Taylor Swift, I was out. And I heard this from one of my team, and I just thought it was funny, because I thought their belief is so rigid around her. And I remember when I started my podcast, Impact the World, back in 2020, one day I wore a red pair of Nike sneakers. And I'm on, we're on camera in a studio, and this was news to me. But I was reading comments back then, and I was curious to see how the podcast was landing. And somebody said, can you see he's wearing red shoes? That means he's Illuminati. That wasn't the surprising thing, Alex. The surprise, this was a gift for me. The surprising thing was that conversation then goes on for about 20 other people who are all like, Oh, I knew it. I felt like his messaging had been off in recent energy updates. Oh, I always had a feeling about him. And I'm like, unless they are like, you know, putting me out at night and taking me somewhere and wiping my memories, I am not, as far as I know.
I mean, that's how you were brought into the studio. I don't know if you remember or not. They brought you in. Yeah. Hannibal Lecter style. You had a mask on. It was crazy.
That's why I was on the spaceship. Now it all makes sense. But why it was a gift for me personally was at that time, like anybody, I'd be looking at things online and I'd see these very rigid beliefs happening and I'd be like, well, is that true? Is that? And now I'm like, wow, if a whole group of people can convince themselves of what they want to believe about somebody, then it was a gift, because now I'm like, I don't believe anything. Like, I will believe it with my own body, my own experience, and anything anybody says about anybody, I no longer will. It was actually a great freedom for me to watch these people make a decision about me that I knew wasn't true, but that they were convinced about.
Well, I mean, obviously, which rolls right into how we're going to talk about how the world is flat. And
it is.
It's fascinating, but we
are fascinated. Like, look at us as a humanity. We're kind of crazy, creatures. Fascinating, extraordinary.
This is something I think about often. I'm like, do you think that like we're the reality show for the universe? Like there's aliens somewhere on a planet and they're tuning into us and like, let's see what they do this day. And because we are endlessly fascinating, endlessly entertaining, in a horrific standpoint and a hilarious standpoint. Like, can you believe?
I think if we are, we're like Channel 75.
At least.
I don't think we're in the top 10.
We're not network.
I won't name any of the reality shows that we're probably comparable to, but universally, we're down there, I think.
So we're not network. We're not even cable.
No.
We're like Dish TV 1072.
Yeah, we're like, this is how you shouldn't do it. Yeah, we're that kind of transformation
We're a cautionary tale.
Let's look at how you can. Yeah, so yeah.
We're a cautionary tale. Well, since you came all this way, I would love to bring the Z's in. And I have a bunch of questions for the Z's, and they're always so wonderful.
Okay.
So can you explain to everybody what you do, how you do it? Because if they don't know,
I understand
who you are and how you do it.
Yeah, so at the age of 23, I heard the voice of my guides. I was very skeptical because channeling was not what I was into. I loved personal growth. I loved spirituality, but I was thinking channeling was a bit weird. And then it happened to me. And what was interesting for me was I met them on the subway at the same time that I was going through all these negative thoughts in my head. And I just heard this very clear voice, which I still to this day hear. But if I'm talking to them myself, I hear them here. If I'm channeling them as I'm about to, they come. I start hearing them up here. Usually the first sentence, it's me starting what I'm hearing, and then it's kind of in, and it's just a flow through. So they are called the Z's, but not because they gave that name. When I first met my lead guide, he said, I'm the lead spokesperson. You can call me Zachary. We don't have names in the way that you have names on Earth, but we understand you need names as identifiers, so you can call me Zachary. That would be the closest vibration. Then I met some others who identified as Zaphariah and Zayadora, and for about a four-year period, I was channeling any one of those. And so the audiences who would come to the seminars, they would start talking about the Z's. So they named them. So they're a group of 88 beings who then extend wider into source. And what that means is they are a collective energy, but they can channel to other parts of galactic or earthly information. And that's how they've explained it. Because we're all channeling. Mm-hmm. Like you and I are in a relationship right now with each other. And I'm in a relationship with this man called Alex Ferrari, who, based on who you just encountered this morning and your lineage and who you've become as a result of all of your relationships, I'm actually speaking to millions of people in one body.
Correct.
And you're doing the same with you know what Lee Harris looks like today, right?
Sure.
So I liked how they broke it down. The thing I was very wary of with channeling was the worship I saw some people give to it, and I saw people give their power away.
Yes.
And whereas I was always very clear, I'm not doing anything they tell me to do unless I feel I can do it, and they never did. And they've given me pieces of information. They're very vibrational, and they really are here to. They are having an experience through bringing their frequency and their messages to Earth as well, but it's also part of their role to do this. And to in a way, kind of think of a drip coffee machine. It's like they're dripping down through for those of us who want it to take it and to multiply more of the oneness energy on earth. They speak about oneness as the high harmonic of the universe. So they say oneness energy is the high harmonic of the universe. And that's really what they're doing. So the role of channeling, I believe, is to help us open, whether it's our mind, whether it's our energy field, or our intuition, because a lot of people are seeking channeling because it's helping them develop their own intuitive and open senses. So, in a nutshell, that's who the Z's are.
All right, so let's get going.
Okay. Ha, good. A pleasure to be here in the spaceship itself, for that is actually what you are. You are a spaceship here at your, we will call it, beautiful earthbound home from which you broadcast, which Lee has found his human body in today, and thus we have found ourselves landing a little on Earth while we are here. And you are creating a ripple effect, not just through what you and your team here are conducting, Alex, but your entire audience. So, you are creating a collective energy field together, which is raising the vibration of the planet. And it is not without its contentiousness. There are those within the audience who want to hold some of their rigid beliefs, and they are looking for you to confirm or validate them. And if you don't, they will kick back. There are also, as with any high-frequency group, there are lower frequencies who are attracted to this kind of work, and they come in and they, we will say, try and disrupt what is going on. It is part of their role to be disruptors where and when they can. But the majority of your people, and we would say the majority is a good 70 to 75% of the people who are tuning into the frequency you are permeating, they know what it is that you are broadcasting here, and you are helping them to remember. Not just you, of course, the guests too, but what you are actually all doing is creating a garden on Earth. An energetic garden that many are tuning in on using technology, which is its own kind of psychic highway. We have said this for many years. Yes, you can say there are shadow sides or growth learning edges still to technology in your world that you all need to be aware of, but it becomes its own kind of psychic mainframe grid. The internet is a way that many of you are experiencing that psychic mainframe grid in a very earthbound way. So, some of the lower vibrations that you will find within the system of the internet, it's part of the earth game. It's part of the diversity of frequency that you are experiencing on Earth. But at its heart, it is an amplifier. It connects you all very fast. It plugs you into the speed of the psychic highway. So what many of your, we will call them audience, but really we only do that to differentiate that they are on the other side of these shows and broadcasts that you are creating. They are part of the group. They are here to remember who they are, the speed of the Earth changes, and more importantly, because this Earth can be very ungrounded for the spiritually aware. It is amusing to us that many of you quite rightly talk about grounding on Earth, trying to ground and get into your body. But that is actually the opposite of what you truly want to do. What you truly want to do is ascend and leave your body and go into oneness consciousness, which at this moment in time and history cannot exist on Earth as a whole. It can exist on Earth in groups, in gatherings, in pockets, and you are one of those.
If you're enjoying this conversation, I invite you to go deeper down the rabbit hole with me on Next Level Soul TV. It's packed with exclusive content like live special guest Q&As, daily podcasts, commercial-free access to the entire Next Level Soul catalog, early access to episodes before they air, and special meditations you won't find anywhere else. We will be adding new exclusive content every month, plus you can connect with me during my monthly live streams. Just go to nextlevelsoul.com/subscribe and join our soulful community today. I'll see you on the inside.
But even within the oneness frequency, because this is an earthbound platform, you get the disruption, you get the pushback, you get the fighting, as Lee called it earlier, the emotional violence through words or energetic attack. It is par for the course. But the grounding that all of you are doing right now is grounding your cosmic bodies here on Earth. So the irony is you need to ground as a human being, meaning being able to inhabit your body. So to do the healing work necessary to let go of the trauma that's in the way of your senses being fully alive. To allow your physical self to continue to expand and grow as an empowered electrical being. For that is what you are, electrical. And yet at the same time, what you are actually trying to do is bring in more of your light body. So it's an irony that in order to get your light body here on Earth, you have to do a lot of clearing, a lot of grounding, and a lot of release of lower vibrations. And why are you doing all this? It is not just for your personal satisfaction. Yes, right now you might be in a phase of using your vision boards or your goals and your directives to get yourself to level 3 or 4 in your life because you are tired of living at level 1 or 2. But when you get to level 10, when you go beyond, when you have become so activated in the flow of energy on Earth at higher vibrations, and you are able to keep your focus and your own energy field in that place more of the time than ever before, sure, there may be dips down here and there, but more of the time than ever before, you are able to float on Earth when it comes to the energy. Then you start to have a magnificent effect on others, the planet herself, nature, and nature is doing this to all of you whenever you go into it. Nature is an alive, energetic, electrical field. There are some areas of nature that are struggling to be alive right now, and you know where those are when you go into them. But for the most part, nature reminds you of your oneness in the same way that the love, kindness, or connection from another human being or an animal toward you does.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and you're always one of my favorite groups to talk to. My first question to you is that I've discovered that this year we're going to have 50% of the countries in the world are going to have an election. It means there's going to be a great shift in leadership around the world. What do you see for this great shift? How does that connect to our spiritual and conscious growth throughout the world?
We see people being quite furious in the years to come when it comes to this low vibration system you call politics. So already people are tired. Already people are disillusioned, and more people are beginning to see the corruption of those systems and to understand the corruption of those systems. And we will say there are some who are going into that system to try and enlighten it, to try and lighten the load, but it's hard work for them because they are not the majority. And the majority who are in there have either become, in a sense, wrapped in those energies of corruption themselves, not necessarily through choice or through will, but because when you stay in a certain vibration for a long period of time, it becomes the clothing you wear. So we will say this to you. You think at the moment that people are fighting, and we would say people are fighting politically at a low level right now, meaning they are still believing in the game. They are still believing that this game can help them win, and it can't. It can't because the system itself needs an entire overhaul. But while people are fighting about who they want rather than what they want, they are completely missing the point. Very few people are happy with any of the candidates they are being offered. Why is no one paying more attention to that and saying that needs to change? People are slowly waking up to the fact that there is a great divide between people and government that perhaps they have never seen before or never cared to see. So this is going to be the decade of revolution where that is concerned, but it happens slowly for a reason. Some of you may say, I'm so frustrated with the fact that this keeps going on. And we'll say, well, it has been going on for many, many thousands of years in different forms. Before government, it took the form of the church, or it took the form of the leadership groups of each enclave in each area of the world. So what we will say is you are going to, anyone listening, it's okay that you feel angry about what you are seeing, experiencing, witnessing. Be mindful of what you do with that anger. Does it really help to rip the head off of somebody who you disagree with. No, the system is designed to get you into that activated fight or flight so that you don't really pay attention to what's actually happening. You instead get emotionally activated and thus distracted, rather than taking a good look at what is this system that we have all been agreeing to for so long. The other thing we will say, and this is not always a popular thing that we will share, but it is the truth. It is not actually appropriate on Earth for everything to blow up overnight. We know there are many who wish it would, but in truth, you aren't prepared. Your infrastructure, for better or for worse, is holding you together in ways that it would be too dramatic for you if overnight everything changed, which is why the traditional idea of revolution, where one group will, shall we say, overthrow the power seat of another, is not necessarily the way for things to go at this time in history. So that is why you are going to see a technological revolution, a political revolution, and a human revolution in the years to come. And it is going to be, we will say, a very wavy time on Earth. But what we will say to any of you who are in fear about politics, then it has successfully hooked you. You must step out of the fear template that politics is designed to serve into your body. Because while you stay in fear of your master, you will never be free of this dynamic, this relationship. You will not create something new. So, what we see from our perspective is the success of politics right now is getting people to fight with each other, instead of actually looking at how problematic, low vibration, and dark many of these systems have become.
Well, there is so many things going on in the world, conflicts, old stories playing out again and again, and it does seem like to many people that the world is upside down and it's going downhill and all that stuff. What can you tell people who are afraid of what's coming for the rest of this year and for the next decade?
You have, we will say this kindly, you have stepped out of your own personal empowerment. We are not saying that there aren't experiences that people are having on Earth that are horrific, for there are. And there are groups and individuals who are going through the price of the darkness on Earth right now. And we will say to any of you who have empathy for those people, you have been those people in other lifetimes. You yourself have gone through these dark, brutal cycles that you are still seeing a small group, and we will say this again, a small group perpetuate on Earth. It is a very small number on Earth who wish to perpetuate the brutal darkness cycle. And the reason they are working hard to do it is becoming harder to achieve it. It doesn't mean that you don't have a lot of people on Earth who are what some of you would call asleep to what's going on. You do. And that's through no fault of their own. That is the energy dynamic on Earth right now. And many people have been trained to be asleep, to not think for themselves, to not feel for themselves. But for anyone who is in fear of what is going on in the world, that means you have moved into the energy of fear that the world is signaling to you. Alex, you just said there are many things going on the planet around the world. And we would say, far more than you could possibly even know. And yet, there are key storylines that your attention gets focused on by those who want your attention to be placed in certain directions. Mm-hmm. So, what you think you know of the world is just 10% of what is actually playing out. We could give you 20 other examples of each of these major incidents that you are focused on, where the same energy is playing out in other areas. But instead, all of your focus goes there. And the reason it's important to focus people in a very fixed area like that is it amplifies the fear. And the storytelling around it keeps people afraid, which keeps people in the system of power imbalance. As long as you can scare people and tell them that you will look after them, their fear will make them say, okay, good, phew, please do. Instead of, well, hang on a second, what is the truth of this story I'm being told? So, what we have to be careful of when we speak about this or address this is there will be a whole group of listeners who are saying, yes, see, I knew the world was a bad place. And that's not what we're saying. We're saying that you are currently in a battle between light and dark that you have been in since before you could even conceive of. Historically on Earth, galactically, these energies of war that you are currently seeing play out are quite small compared to some of the galactic wars that you have been through in cycles of history. And yes, they have been embedded and instilled on Earth by a few small groups. But for any of you who are afraid of the world, we would say try this on for size. Imagine if you knew you were going to be dead in 7 days' time. 7 days' time and you will be gone from this planet. We promise you, you will not spend the next 7 days worried about what's happening. You will not spend the next 7 days thinking, I hope that everything resolves in this area or that area. You will spend the next 7 days sensorially aware that you are a soul on Earth in a human body, and you have 7 days left to experience the wonder that you are experiencing right now. And when we say wonder, we don't mean that the whole world is wonderful. We mean it is a wondrous thing to be a soul in a human body and experience Earth. But as well as experiencing Earth, you are also creating Earth. And so we understand that some of you get frustrated that you can't be a vessel for change in some of these lower, darker areas. But you can be a vessel for change in those areas by being a vessel for change in your life, in your immediate community, and by upholding and emanating the values of oneness, kindness, love into your direct life. It has a vibrational effect. And at the moment, many of you are locked out of the game of war. You are included in it when you are wanted as soldiers, or you are included in it when you are wanted as ammunition for the other side, or you are included in it when it is important to manipulate your emotions into enough fear that you will agree to certain things. But the truth is, whether you agree or not, it's out of your hands, but not vibrationally. So the system has locked you out, but the system is not in power of the vibration of this planet. The people are. Which is why the raising of the frequency of every single human being on Earth is how a shift happens. And it only takes 30% of you before the domino effect begins. And you are very close right now. You are very close to reaching that tipping point. So we will say, if you are afraid of what you're seeing in the world, unhook from only living in fear. Stop focusing on the areas that you are solely focusing on. You can have fear, by all means, but don't have it 24/7. That means you have been manipulated and brainwashed through what you are seeing and forgetting that you actually don't know how many days you have left on this planet. And that's an important thing to remember, because you are here to have an effect as well as have an experience.
You mentioned cycles from a galactic point of view. How many cycles has humanity gone through on this planet?
Well, it depends from which perspective you look, because the humanity you see now is very different to the humanity that existed here thousands of years ago. So there have been many cycles of the human form on Earth, but there have also been many cycles of the non-human form that walks among you on Earth. So it is a complicated topic, and one that we will not go into much detail with for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it is a large can of worms. Number two, it will take us off track of the frequency that we are here to put out today. And number three, for Lee's benefit, there are certain things that he is contracted to be a spokesperson for, and certain things that he is not. And in order for him to continue doing his work, he needs to stay in this place with what we are pulsing. But we will say this. This is an interesting perspective on your question. There are cycles that the souls have gone through that you would not believe. So the level of soul that can now pour into a young human is immense. And that might surprise some of you, because many of you despair the world today and the young people today who you say, well, they've all just got their head in a device. And we say, well, rather than complain about that, show them something else. get them engaged in their spirit and their body, because there are many young people who aren't wired that way, and in fact have an incredible amount of energetic and multidimensional awareness that they are allowed to inhabit now because of what you and prior generations have paved the way for. So the humanity influence is always the soul. And the question is, what level of soul can pour into this human body? And what life will that human then have? So you cannot separate humanity from the soul. You can try, and there are some who have tried, and then there are some humans on earth who do not have the soul the way that you might think or perceive they do. And that is its own other story. But what we will say here is the level of soul that so many are embodying on earth now, the frequency rate of those souls is thousands of times higher than it would have been even 1,000 years ago. And that doesn't necessarily mean 1,000 years ago was bad. It's simply evolution. So the question is, how much soul energy can humanity take at this time? And so as you have such an extreme on the planet right now with the lower vibration, so too are you getting some highly wired beings arriving on the planet. And be careful of leaving it to them. We have heard some say, oh, the children are going to save us. And we say, if you are on earth and you are leaving it to the children, you are missing the point. You as an elder, you are here to work with the children, help the children, be part of their wisdom tree that they will need for the role that they have to do. So never separate yourself from any other individual or group. If you are on earth, even if you are the world's biggest introvert, living in the forest by yourself and only wanting to talk to animals, you are, as a human soul, having a vibrational effect on the planet. So we will say that the cycles of evolution that humanity have gone through is a series of stories that you could hear, but that would tend to distract many of you from the actual truth of what's taking place now. An energetic opening in souls on earth that is having an effect. If you meet a child who is 8 years old and they are vibrating at a frequency rate of 1,000 in their soul, and when you incarnated on the planet, you came in as a 500, that child is going to help you elevate. But equally, that child is going to learn from you who you and prior generations are, so that they can synchronize their energy to be of effect, which is why we say, never hero worship any other human being. Be they a child, be they in their 90s, don't separate yourself in that way. If you do have appreciation for another being, that is a beautiful thing. Being able to appreciate what someone else has brought into your life or given you, that's wonderful. That's kindness, connection, compassion. But don't separate. Don't get down on your knees and put someone else up on a pedestal. Because guess what? Humans like to kill the people who are on the pedestal. So you need to stick together and recognize your togetherness is your oneness.
Now, with this great consciousness shift that's happening in the world, a lot of the older systems are having a problem dealing with this new shift of people's perception of the world. What role does religion and organized religions have in this new world that we're walking into?
Religion in its purest form is a faith-focused based practice. Religion in the way that many humans have co-opted it and run it is control-based. So you cannot speak about religion in general terms. You can find Christian groups, Muslim groups, Catholic groups who in different areas with different what you might call ministers, pastors, leaders, whoever the designated people are, will have a very different vibrational flow. We will say that religion still, in many ways, has the ability to hold a purity and an energy force for people that helps them connect to themselves. The problem is when religion is used to organize and subjugate humans. That is the problem. When humans are told they are less than either the God force, the Jesus force, and it's not that they shouldn't appreciate the God force, the Jesus force on earth, and all of the religious forces, depending on your religious denomination, the beliefs of who your beings are. The problem comes not so much from the focus of faith, but the focus of control and division that many get, shall we say, brainwashed into, because they take the good things and they believe the good things are doing them a lot of good. And then once they have eaten the nice food, the chefs come out of the kitchen and they give them a plate that smells a little off, but has white powdered sugar sprinkled all over the top. And they say, and now you've eaten that lovely main course, this is the dessert you need to eat. So they eat it, and it doesn't taste great, and it doesn't feel good in their body, but they have been told they need to eat this. So they eat it, and they become it. And then whenever anyone comes near them that has the same name as that dessert, it activates in their body. So they literally ingest the energy they are instructed to ingest, so that when they come near anything that will, shall we say, contradict the religious belief, something goes off in their body and they immediately get activated, because they have literally energetically ingested it. It's why the ones who walk away from their religions at certain points in their life, or at a certain period of time where the religion has served them. And by the way, you could put spirituality in the New Age movement in there too. There are many who say, I am renouncing the New Age movement and I have instead found this religion, which is just jumping from one ship to another. It's still something that they are rigidly holding. And perhaps they had very rigid beliefs in their New Age beliefs that other New Age people don't believe at all. So you see, they want to make it about the group or the organized religion or organized spirituality. There is no such thing. Everything is personal. Everything is perspective-based. But there are certain leaders who don't want things to be personal and perspective-based, so they enforce their laws or rules upon you so that you will go out into the world and multiply and replicate those laws and rules. So there are a lot of people who have ingested waste matter that has been covered in powdered sugar. So they don't notice as they're eating it, but they remember the feeling in their body and it didn't feel good. So whenever they get near that thing that threatens the belief, off goes a time bomb inside them.
Now, how do you see humanity's collective consciousness shifting over this next year?
Well, first of all, there is going to need to be a little bit of a plunge. And what we mean by that, and we are not saying we would like to see that plunge, we are saying the inevitability. We will say that many of you are tracking world events, energetic events, astrological events, but it is going to be a very interesting time on Earth, particularly between January and March of 2025. We are not saying there won't be things that will happen before then, but January and March of 2025, there is an appearance of a, shall we say, grace window, a possibility for humans to rise and elevate, but as a reaction to what they will experience in the second half of 2024. Where we have to be careful, and where you, the listener, have to be careful, is you will take our words and you will decide what they mean, and you will stick to that. So, those of you who are in fear about this year of 2024, you will say, the Z's just said it's going to be bad, but that maybe between January and March we'll all get a period to shake it off, which is not what we said. If you go back to our words, they can be interpreted many different ways depending on the emotion that you color those words with. So this is a great training for you to recognize your own rigid beliefs in the way you respond to what you hear. What we said was there is going to be a grace period between January and March where humans will collectively rise as a result of a reaction to what will take place in the second half of 2024. What we didn't say, which we could have added, is there will be many high moments between now and the end of this year where people's eyes will open. People's hearts will open and people's minds will open. You have to remember, when you have been in a controlling relationship for a long time, you are scared to leave it, you are scared to challenge it because of the consequences, and you believe that you are trapped. It takes time to galvanize the body, the nervous system, get the support around you to leave the controlling relationship. And currently, the majority of humans are waking up to the fact that there is a level of controlling relationship they have been in their whole lives. But that doesn't have to mean that their joy, their happiness, their love that they have felt all the time that that controlling relationship has been active wasn't real, isn't real. Of course it is. You see, dark cannot control light. It tries to dim it. It tries to control it, but it simply can't.
What are the main forces at play in the spiritual battle for humanity's soul?
We will say the need for humans to recognize their divinity, their spirituality, and their galactic consciousness. And what we mean by that is not necessarily that you all have to have some unified belief about who you are universally, because there will be many different beliefs. But you do need to remember that you are a vibrational being, having a physicalized experience in human density. But one thing we will say is your bodies are not as dense as you think they are. It is very easy to leave them. They are actually far more made of light than you think they are, and the water is a big part of that with the physical human body. But the battle for humanity's soul is one that can't be won. So there are some factions who would like to control or eliminate the soul of humanity so that they can have their way with what they see as planetary resources, planetary, we will call it magical energy. There is a energetic field on Earth that humans are a part of, but they are not the reason for it. They are a part of it that makes it a powerful force universally. So there have always been times throughout galactic history where certain planets come into focus for a while or might be seen as desired, where some of those forces wish to move in and experience or take what they wish. We will say that the battle for humanity's soul is not something that you can spend too much time thinking about unless you are one of the scholars or one of the educators or one of the investigators in that area. Think of it as a battle for your soul. Will you allow your soul to rise in ways that you previously have not? Will you allow yourself to express what you feel, who you are, what you believe, what you disagree with? Not in a violent way to others, but in a clear and truthful, expressed way. Will you allow that soul in you to rise? And part of the fear that many of you have is because throughout galactic history, it has been seen that when you allow your soul to be fully seen, there is someone who wants to attack or capture it. And this is not that time. That is why so many of you are doing it together. That is why so many of you are doing it at the same time. There is strength in numbers. And there is a soul strength right now that is, shall we say, disrupting the plan for the battle for humanity's soul.
Where do you see the world's economy moving forward with all this upheaval and turmoil that is coming and change that's coming for us all?
It is going to diversify. Be wary of anyone who says they know what will happen with the economy, because nobody does. All the timelines that you are working on right now are not fixed. We can tell you overarching destiny themes that are at work on Earth, but how you get there, when you get there, and what it looks like as you get there is going to vary depending on what happens at a planetary level. So the economy is not an important thing. We'll say that again, the economy is not an important thing. Now, to humans, that sounds insane, because of course the economy is one of the things that ties you all together. Spiritually, the economy is not an important thing. It is for those of you who are in it, of course, but universally the economy is yet another one of the stranglehold areas. So you are all playing with your resources, trying to perhaps live within your means, even though the system doesn't always make that easy for you. Perhaps you are trying to generate more money for yourself or for others, or to be benevolent. But you didn't design the system, and the system needs to change. It needs to break down. So the economy will diversify, but life always finds a way. And life and your humanity have been sold off to an economic model that only a few are benefiting from. So it is very important, all of these new innovations. It is not important, for example, that we will use the example of Bitcoin. It is not important that Bitcoin is or isn't successful as a new model on Earth. It is very important that it is happening. It is very important that it is trying. It is very important that it exists because it is a challenger to the old way. And there are other challenges to the old way. So even though people like to put all their focus on it, will it work, won't it work, it's not going to work, it is going to work, all of that is exhausting. What's important is that your economic model is currently not run by any of you. And that is what is going to change in decades to come. But for some of you, you won't necessarily see that in your lifetime, but you will be part of the generation that, shall we say, take a hammer to the ground that the economics have been built on.
What is your view on nature and how nature is going to continue to progress over the course of these next decades or so? Because there's so much, nature seems to be fighting back against a lot of the things that we're doing on this planet, or maybe it's not. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
She will. She does. She has to, for her own survival, for she is more important than humanity. We don't mean that to put anyone down, but she is the life force of this planet. So nature is something that not enough people have yet come to revere and understand. And it is interesting. There is a... Are we allowed to say this? Yes. Lee recently saw a film that was constructed in a tourist area of America to talk to people about what humanity had done to nature. And again, what he witnessed as he sat in this audience room where the end of this movie was basically saying humanity ruined Earth. Humanity had to leave Earth because it ruined Earth. The vibrational message of the film was very dark and very low. And he witnessed people who were marveling at incredible cinematography, yes, but feeling more and more deflated as the film went on. And it irritated him because he is aware that it is not humanity that have ruined nature by themselves. It is the system of your world that is continually deciding to pillage. And again, you are not allowed to make a decision. You have authoritative parents. And that relationship needs to change so that nature can heal. So there are many of you who are nature activists, and your voices are needed. Your work is needed to help educate other humans. And the desire to get you focused and hooked on technology and forget not only your true nature, but the incredible life force power of nature herself is its own battle for the soul of humanity. Because without nature, humanity does lose its soul, and this planet cannot go in the direction that a small number would like to push it, which is to make it more void of energetic life. So, nature is important. You are told stories about nature and your environmental changes that aren't true. And then there are some truths about your environmental changes in nature. And yes, humanity could make many changes that would help this planet, but this planet is also going through a cycle that it was always destined to go through. And in fact, the awakening is happening for so many of you because you are at a new period of the cycle of Earth. So this is another one of those topics where there will be all kinds of people up in arms with anything that we say, because if it contradicts their belief about what Earth is, flat or otherwise, they are going to push back. And that's okay, because that is no different to what's going on Earth right now. But nature is not only crucial for your survival, it is actually crucial for your thriving, and it contains the wisdom and the encoding that you need for humanity's more conscious future, which is why you are seeing it become increasingly eroded, increasingly jeopardized, increasingly uncared for. And this movie that Lee was witness to wanted to blame it on all the people who had paid to go and sit there and see this thing, which was very clever, because then it makes humans feel bad about themselves, which makes them disempowered, rather than people being able to sit there. And there were many in the audience, by the way, not just him, who knew that what they were being sold was a lie. They were being told it was their fault, whereas actually there is a very specific agenda to disrupt the power of nature on Earth, which serves the agenda of, shall we say, making humans live smaller lives. But again, that can't come to fruition. It won't energetically be possible. There will be attempts. There will be directions that goes in. But the vibration of the planet and the vibration of nature herself and the consciousness level that you have now reached on Earth is not going to allow that to take place. And we're not saying that so that you all relax and don't do anything. It is important that your voices, your observations, your actions are part of the change. But too often, too many of you go into a doom narrative where you think you are completely controlled and there's nothing you can do about it. We say that's the biggest lie you could tell yourself or anyone else could tell you.
You've mentioned a few times in this conversation about groups, a small group of people who are...
There are multiple of them.
Yes.
They are actually often disrupting each other's agendas, which
Yes.
is positive for you. They each are vying for different areas of control,
Right.
but none of them want the others to have control. So in a way, they are eating themselves alive. But the public at large wouldn't know much about that because it's all very well hidden from view.
Okay, so it is a bunch of small groups of people who are trying to control the masses for their own gain. So it's not conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy, if you will.
The planet is the goal more than the people.
Okay, meaning just control of the planet in general, and that's been going on since the beginning of time,
Yes.
essentially. Gotcha. Okay. Ziz, is there a parting message you would like to give
Yes,
to the audience?
we think we should lighten and brighten this up now.
Yes.
For everything we just spoke about and the questions you were asking, while they are valid, notice how that made you feel. You, the listener, you, the viewer, where did your body go? Did you contract a little? Because we were talking about some of the darker areas on the planet, and while that is necessary, and again, for some of you, your role requires it. We know there are some of you on the planet who are here to be part of that battle, and many of you are part of that battle because you have been in that battle before. This is not your first time going through these kinds of energetic galactic battles. So you're the ones who sniff it out, you're the ones who educate others, you're the ones who spend your life devoted to bringing that out to others or fighting it, and that's okay. But notice how for many of you, the core feeling becomes a level of disempowerment in your body. Even if you believe you can overcome as a group, as an individual, there is a level of disempowerment that starts to hit you because we are telling you a story about a layer of disempowerment on Earth. But what must be your focus, and it is your reality, the vibrational power that you as humans have individually and as a group is extraordinary. You are far higher than any of those agendas, groups, those lower vibrational battles. And we are truly hoping that in years to come, there is a bit less focus on what they're doing and a bit more focus on what you are creating for the new Earth. That's very important. We understand this is a time of what you would refer to as disclosure. We would call it the Great Reveal, where all of the previously hidden aspects of society come to light. But there are many of you who are wishing or saying, I can't wait till the day it all comes out. We would say, don't wish for that. It won't all come out overnight. It's a steady drip feed so that not only can people get used to it, but more importantly, they don't lose their vibrational power and they're not overwhelmed. Your vibrational power is your contribution to Earth. Now, any of you who are being hard on yourselves, hearing that, thinking, oh, I have been feeling bad for 3 months. Well, investigate why you're feeling bad. Don't feel bad about feeling bad and thinking that you've let the planet down. No, no, no. But ask yourself, for 3 months, I haven't felt like I'm here. I haven't felt alive. I haven't felt open. Good. That's your work then. Your work is now, let me get under the hood of this. Let me see what this is. Because if I'm still uncomfortable about what's going on 3 months later, I need to investigate why my energy field won't open again. One of the reasons that it's so hard for all of you to understand your vibrational power is it would literally blow your mind to truly release this human body, this human psychology, this emotional wraparound that you have in your energy field that makes you the beautiful human you are. So it's far easier for all of you to watch the battle, to watch the darkness. And you've been trained to do this. Lee even identified it. The movie that you are all supposed to open your heart in and care about the characters, and then you are subjected to 30 minutes of war. Do you understand what that's doing to you? So you are opened, you are caring, you are feeling invested, and then the ending you are given is 30 minutes of war and possibly a 1-minute happy ending after that annihilation of your energy field you've just been through. So, the same is true of all of these topics, some of which we have discussed today. While it is important to understand some of that, you're only understanding it. It isn't necessarily vibrationally lifting you. Vibrationally lifting yourself is the key to forward movement on this planet. So whether it is giving yourself to personal practices, habits, tools that you can use on a daily basis to open up, whether it is recognizing it is time for you to start doing the thing that you feel you are here to do that can help humanity, which, by the way, might look very small to you. That janitor that you speak about, Alex, who knew that he was supposed to be a janitor. Could someone judge him and say, oh, well, he's just a janitor? As many people do judge some of the most important jobs on earth. They are the energy keepers. They are cleaning the energy. They are cleaning the energy of a room when they are cleaning. They're not just sweeping away dirt. They are actually moving and changing the energy of a room. That is an important job. Of course, it has been demeaned on earth and is put into a lower position, but that janitor just revealed his brilliance, his beauty, his gift. What a wonderful opening for people's minds. What a wonderful opening for people who would say, oh, well, that's what we think a janitor is. Well, we'll show you what a janitor is. A janitor is a fully fledged human being and soul. And one of the problems in this world is that you've all been trained to believe in this hierarchy that is completely not true. So, let yourself see differently, feel differently, sense differently, and allow yourself to let that happen in the time that you are most comfortable for it to happen. Because many of you are so afraid. You are afraid to fully become yourselves. And you are not wrong to be afraid. You have been trained to be afraid. So don't give yourself a hard time. But we're telling you, the energy is faster, stronger, more clear. So if you're willing to just take one tiny step in the direction of progress, one tiny step in the direction of healing, one tiny step in the direction of opening, it will amplify for you so fast. You will unfurl your energy onto the planet in a way that you haven't previously experienced. And when you do that, you will find others who are doing the same, and you will amplify and multiply each other. For you are here to multiply an energy of love. You are here to multiply a vibration of oneness. It's an extraordinary thing. And if you do get fully down about the planet, remember, try on for size. I have 7 days left to live, and we assure you, you won't be watching the news. We assure you. You'll be going out to the people you love. You'll be going out to the tree. You'll suddenly stop thinking about all the things you were thinking about, and you will go, this is what the air feels like on my skin. Wow. Good. A pleasure to be with you in person, in spirit, briefly on the earth of Spaceship Next Level Soul. We commend you, Alex, but more importantly, we commend the group who gather around this. For you are the ones seeding this energy into the collective energy field. Sure, this broadcast is a focal point that you will take pieces from, but you are the ones seeding it. And that is why you came to Earth right now, in peace and in love to all.
He's back. How are you, sir? Do you remember most of it?
I'm listening behind so I can hear things, and I normally come away with about 3 or 4 things myself that I've either never heard before or that ping for me. Not so much today, to be honest, because it was intense. And some of the things we were talking about were very intense. So I was even further away. Like I was kind of like, I think in a way, they've explained that my energy field is not constructed to stay in dense energy for very long. I'm a transmuter of dense energy for other people. And of course, I have my own personal healing within that. But So I almost feel like my body was, especially as we were talking about some of the lower vibration stuff, my body started to get pulled back further away from my body. So it will take me a little while to come back, but that's good. That's okay.
And the reason, and one of the reasons I wanted to ask the kind of questions I was asking today is because, don't ask me why, I feel that the people watching needed to hear the Z's point of view on a lot of these ideas, because there's so much fear out there, and I want to kind of not dismiss it, but dissipate it a little bit and give them some point of view, some clarity on it. It's not all doom and gloom.
They and I have always said that, and sure, we can all have our bad days, or we can all be horrified by things that we're seeing or empathizing with, but what I did find interesting was what they said at the end about all those topics, and addressing people to investigate how it made them feel, because that's the most important work we can do. It's not arguing about who's right, who's wrong. It's like, oh, well, they're this, that. Because if you watch anyone arguing about a point, there's a certain limit to the energy that's flowing.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's interesting that they I've never heard them say, because I also agree that this is a time where this stuff needs to be discussed and people need to come to this. But at the same time, I found it very interesting that they were cautioning not only us personally, but us as a society of like, we can keep talking about all this stuff, but then also how much are we using it to change things?
Right.
Or how much are we watching the TV show? Right. How much are we watching the 30 minutes of war at the end of the superhero movie?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly.
And there are some really soulful superhero. There's some of those superhero movies I've thought are very soulful all the way through, and then then there's others that not so much. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Lee, where can people find out more about you, the Z's, and the amazing work you're doing in the world?
So I have a website, leeharrisenergy.com. I have a YouTube channel called Lee Harris Energy, and the music that myself and my music brother, Devor Bozic, we create music at the frequency of 528 hertz. So it's music that sounds spiritual and more that kind of music that you'd know, but also contemporary. That's leeharrismusic.com.
Lee, I am so grateful that you came, and I finally got to meet you in person and to have this conversation with you. I appreciate not only you being here, but for everything you and the Z's are doing to awaken the planet, my friend. So I appreciate all the work you're doing.
Likewise, to you and your beautiful and wonderful wife and your team and everything. It's been a gift to be here today, so thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.